The new iPhones are here. On the left, the 6S, and on the right, the 6S Plus. You see the color version. This is gold, and on the left, that's the new one, rose gold. I don't say any word about that. It's your opinion and your decision if you like it or not. I'm going to technology, and that's always like you know it from Apple on the iPhones. Every second year there's just an upgrade. This year is no exception. So you have in general the same iPhones here, especially the same size, the same displays, 4.7 and 5.5 inch, same resolution, same everything. Especially same size because that's just 1.0 millimeter or whatever, 0.1 millimeters, not that much, you do not feel it. What you feel is that it's getting way more heavy, 143 grams instead of 129, and especially the big one, 189 instead of 172. So that's 11 and 10% plus. So especially on the plus, yeah, this is really now a schnitzel. But on the other hand, it's nothing what I would say it's for general just bad, because you can also say it's more stable now because the weight is coming on one thing for the new cover. It's called Aluminum 7000, a special material now that's more stable, a little bit thicker, a little bit more heavy, but of course to prevent a second bend gate. You remember last year you had the problem that you just could bend the iPhones, and this is now way more stable. I won't do that much because I still need operating devices for my tests, but if I'm doing the regular things over here, that's not some sounds or everything, it's really stable, and especially it's not dropping down somewhere on the panel or something. This is really great, and I would prefer a phone that's a little bit more heavy and way more stable instead of a flat one and lightweight one that's just sit on it once and it's broken or something. So that's totally okay. What's new is something that's called 3D touch, and that's meaning that you do not have that regular, like you know, this one over here, that capacitive touch, but the display is now realizing if you press a little harder, because there's something below the panel realizing that, and the result is looking like that you get a preview or additional information or like this one here, selections or whatever. Or for example, if you go to the mail, you will see here, just press once a little bit harder, that's the peak. You see a preview, what you will get. And if you say, okay, I want to answer that, for example, press again a little bit harder and you are in the app messaging or photos or whatever. But you do not have to press a second time that hard, because on the Mail app you have, for example, these swiping gestures, unread, archive, and especially if you go like that, you now can reply right out of this one here. So you have the choice now what you prefer and what is quicker. They're just not that new, you know that from Android, they are not that hard press, but a long press. That's not working, of course, on iOS, because if you have that long press, then you will drag and drop your apps here. So, of course, Apple had to invent something new, but the principle is the same like that long press or right click with the mouse on the PC, for example. And what else new is if you have that press hard, you will get a tactical feedback, taptic engine, like Apple is calling that. That's nothing else than just like vibrating. A vibrating phone, what an invention. We have never seen anything like that before, Apple. Thanks for giving us this. But to be honest, again, you have an additional module down here that's vibrating, and that's all. By the way, because of this module, that's something Apple is not telling you in the keynote. That's going a little bit up here for the battery. So the battery has less capacity than before. Here on the small model is 1715 instead of 1810 milliamps. Not that big, okay, but reduced. And here on the Plus, it's now 2750 instead of 2915. Again, it might be compensated by iOS 9 and of course the new processor, the A9, now having 2 cores, 1.8 gigahertz, included co-processor and especially 2 gigabyte RAM, so meaning double the working memory than before. And this shall be 70% more and the graphics 90% more. So we have to see in the benchmarks in the final test if the runtime of the battery is staying the same or is going down. We have to see. What else is new? You have, of course, a new camera, finally. 12 megapixels now instead of 8. If this is really that much better than before, because the 8 megapixel photos have been already very great. We have to see in the test. And you should note that that optical image stabilizer, again, is only in the Plus model. Like on the predecessor, you will only get optical stabilizer here in the big one, not in the small one. This is the regular digital stabilizer. What will be better, of course, is the front camera, because now you have 5 instead of 1.2 megapixels. That will be better, of course. And you can now use the retina flash, meaning that your display is, instead of a second LED on the front here, just making a little bit more light on the front side while you're doing your selfies. Good idea. Not new. I say just, for example, LG G3, I guess, one of the first ones doing the same. But it's a good idea, nevertheless. You have quicker LTE, 300 megabit. You have quicker Wi-Fi. You have voice over LTE. And tons of new features, like always with a new iOS version, that would fill a video by itself. But something, again, I want to show that Apple didn't tell you in the keynote, and that's a feature like, here in mobile data, I want to show you down there. At least here we have the Wi-Fi Assist, and this is a setting right off the box. It's activated. No one is telling you, and it means automatically use mobile data when Wi-Fi connectivity is poor, meaning you think you are surfing in the Wi-Fi and you don't, because Apple or iOS is deciding why the connection is a little bit too poor for me. I'm changing to mobile data, and then your mobile volume is melting like ice in the sunshine. So the thing I have to test out and couldn't do here in the office at the moment before that recording this video, if you get a signal or a hint or a message or whatever, now changing from Wi-Fi to mobile data. At least I can hope so. I'm not 100% sure if you will see that, because, you know, Apple wouldn't be Apple if everything would be that complicated. For example, this one. This is something I want to show you why I always wondering that Apple is not renewing totally the concept of iOS, because these inventions have been great with the first iPhone, revolutionary, I would at least call it, but it's now some years old and it needs, for example, some widgets or something new, and it's not coming. And especially not even those little things like this one here in the camera app, that you have an icon to go right from the camera app into the settings. There's nothing with little gear or whatever. So you have to leave the camera app and go to settings and have to, here we are right over here, search in normal cases for this one, photos and camera, and then have go here, record video, and there you can change to 4K. That's what I wanted to show you. And you now can do 4K video recordings with your iPhone. Why that complicated? Just a gear over here or another icon, clicking on it, and I'm right there. Why not? This is something I really can understand with Apple and iOS, and why they're so slowly or carefully in changing things. Well, it's their business, not mine. I'm just telling you. Back to the 4K video recordings. You should note this one over here. A minute of video will be approximately, and here we go, 4K is 375 megabyte, meaning 1 minute 4K video is 375 megabyte. And with that, with that, I'm coming to the sizes, to the versions of the memory, because the 16 gigabyte version, this one over here I've got, this is at least not usual, because If you're right off the box, opening it, activating it, you have a net memory of 10.4 gigabyte. That's the value you should calculate with 10.4 gigabyte. So 375 megabyte per second divided by 10.4, meaning you have 28 minutes of 4K video recording only. Then you have not a single photo, no video, no photos, no music, no apps, no data, no nothing. So what I want to say with that is, if you want to do at least halfway multimedia with your iPhone, do not buy the 16 gigabyte version because it's almost too small. And of course, like always with Apple, you do not have any SD card slot or something. Maybe. No. So 16 gigabyte, 10.4 gigabyte, going down like melting like ice in the sunshine. So we're starting where I would say really it's getting interesting with the 64 gigabyte version. Because there's no 32 gigabyte version, of course. What a surprise. Why that? So starting at 64, and then we start with prices like, at least here in Germany, Europe, 849 and 959 euros, meaning that's 50 and 60 euros more than the predecessors. And the big ones, 128 gigabyte versions, 959 and 1069. That's 60 and 7 euro more than the predecessor. So you have to decide by yourself if this is really worth the upgrade, depending, of course, in most cases, if you have the 6 one, that's still great, or if you have older ones, then it might be of interest. But wait for the test, and especially how is doing the camera, how is doing the battery and the runtime, and all the other little things that might depend on your decision. Of course, you have tons of new features on iOS, but most of them, unless that Taptical engine and that 3D touch here, you will get them in most cases, I guess. So it's your decision, but this is just a first impression of the new iPhones, of the 6S and 6S Plus. All more information's coming on the text and test in a few days, like always on mobiwatch.net. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.